This is an aside, a very quick aside about Sellout, is that I think the one issue I have with that book is I think it is so obvious which bands talked, like Dan Ozzie actually interviewed, and which ones he just watched their documentaries and quoted a lot from those. And maybe it's just because I've seen all the documentaries about all these bands. But like, even the Thursday one, like I know obviously he's friends with Jeff Rickley and there's some like actual interviews in there, but so much of the Thursday stuff is just quotes from those little mini like proto podcast things that they did about each song, and then also from Kill the House Lights.
Yeah.
And like, I think this one's the same way. Like, I don't know that he interviewed anyone in My Chemical Romance about the it's pretty much all from the documentaries.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it. It's interesting to like kind of cross-reference that against like other things that I've like, because I think we ran into this like last week where I was like, I saw 2 different stories about this, and one was in Sellout, so I'm gonna consider that canon, but the other one also came straight from the band, so shrug. But
I might have cut that from the episode.
That's fine. That's fine. This isn't going in the episode either.
Yeah,
probably.
Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music through the lens of our favorite artist discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And we are talking today about 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge by My Chemical Romance. This is the second My Chemical Romance album. This came out on June 8th, 2004 on Reprise Records. It was produced and mixed by Howard Benson, with additional mixing by Rich Costi. This album is probably like one of the foundational documents of the modern emo scene, I think. I don't think that's like an overstatement to say that. And I think it's also a pretty foundational album for us as people and us as music fans. Matt, tell me about your experience hearing this album for the first time.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this a little bit last week, but I think my first encounter with this album was hearing a good chunk of it at a friend's party. And like, we popped open the CD player when it was over, and I saw the CD art, which is like kind of a lost art form in a weird way. And I went, oh hell yeah, this is exactly my shit.
The disc art is just, it's a crucifix that appears to be like smoking, or maybe that's just the chain.
Yeah, it's just a rosary. You can see an extended version of it in the liner notes if you open them all the way.
Oh,
it's also on the cover of the 2025 mix, which I find to be a fun inversion of the album art.
That's cool. I had been wondering where that album art for the reissue came from, and that answers that question.
It's also featured on a $90 hoodie that you can buy on the MCR store right now.
That's too expensive.
People are mad about it, and I don't blame them.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're just kind of hearing this sort of happenstance in probably shortly after it came out, mid 2004.
Yeah, this was like right after it came out, I think. Like I'd had some context for the band. Like I'm pretty sure I had heard I'm Not Okay at some point and really liked it, but like just kind of hearing the rest of the album really cemented it for me, or at least enough of it. I like, for it being such a like distinct memory for me, I don't remember a lot about the actual like experience of hearing it. But I, not very long after that, went out and bought the CD, and I don't think I quite wore it out in my car, but much to the dismay of the people that I was driving to school in the subsequent years, I listened to it a lot in the car. And yeah, like, no, I feel like this is a very foundational album for me. Like it is straight up one of my favorite albums of all time. And I might not be great at explaining why on this episode, but I'm going to attempt to. But yeah, like just everything about it. Like, and I think we talked a little bit last week about how like put together the whole aesthetic of MCR is, like, pretty early on. Like this is where it like really starts to cement itself, or like I don't want to say the MCR brand, because that sounds like a little derogatory, but like in a way, like what MCR is really gets cemented on this album. And then obviously they go off and do a totally different thing on the next record with a totally different vision for what the band is. But like everything really gels together in this era. And I'm gonna just be straight with you. I did not, and kind of maybe still do not care about the story of this album, like the Souls of 1,000 Terrible Men, to be reunited with your lover thing. Like that's cool. That's a fine backdrop. Have literally never tried to analyze any of the songs in that way, except for the ones that are really obviously about it.
It feels like it's not what this album really is about. But I want to go back to what you're saying about the aesthetic of the album. That like not only did it set like the template for My Chemical Romance, it set the template for this entire scene. Like, the emo kid stereotype is just like Gerard Way in 2004 and all of the people that tried to look like him, and like when you like make fun of emo, you're making fun of the imagery around this album. When you are like aspiring to be like emo as a kid, like you're aspiring to be the imagery around this album. It's there really aren't that many other records that are like that influential, I think, for the entire scene, basically. Still to this day, I think that the image most people have in their head of like a quote unquote emo kid is just this album.
Yeah, definitely. And I was honestly like, I kind of thought this image came out like kind of whole cloth, just because like I was kind of consuming everything a little bit asynchronously here. I was not as like online as I am now back in 2004, because our internet was not very good. But like I did not realize that, like, we both watched Life on the Murder Scene, the documentary that kind of covers everything that the band did from inception to a little bit after the like tour cycle for this album, like leading into the Black Parade. But I had no idea that like the aesthetic from the like kind of dress from the Helena video became the MCR look and not the other way around. I was kind of shocked by that, honestly. Like I knew how the I'm Not Okay video was like, a faux prep school type thing, and that was whatever in terms of like what they carried over into their live shows. But like I had no idea that it wasn't the band decided that they were going to look like this and then they looked like it in the Helena video. It was the other way around.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that either. I thought that was, it's good art direction, good design for the video, and it was smart of them to take that on. There's stories about what band they were touring with, where one of the openers was just like, by the middle of the tour, the opening band had just started dressing like them too, because that it just seemed like it was working.
Yeah, and just kind of to back up into the just as part of the album overview overall, because I think we're going to touch on this a lot as we talk about the individual tracks. We kind of already talked about how like the lore of the album is maybe a little inconsequential, but the band kind of talks about, obviously Helena itself is about Gerard and Mikey dealing with the death of their grandmother, but that like kind of seeps its way into the album as a whole. At one point in the documentary, Gerard just says, when you really break down the record, it's a record that, people worldwide really love, but it's really about two boys losing their grandma, which like, I feel like my experience of this album has always been very detached from, the what's on the surface, like what the actual text is, and like maybe mired in my own like interpretations of the subtext. And I think that's part of why I like it so much, is that I didn't feel the need to like dissect the lore, like, care about the fact that like we get to the end of the album, the last evil man he has to kill is, well, you know how that goes. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's like a large part of why this album has resonated with me for so long, is that I have not felt very attached to the like kind of more or less comic booky story behind it, which like nobody in the band is ever going to listen to this, but sorry for saying that, I guess.
No, are you drawn to like theatrical, like rock opera type music in general, or does this work for you because it is like the producer Howard Benson says, it's like kind of an unintentional rock opera?
I do think it's mostly that. Like, I think the lack of intentionality behind it. I'm not gonna beat the theater kid allegations on this freaking podcast, but I want to say right out the gate, I was never a theater kid. I was a stagehand once. I was not a good actor. So I maybe am a dejected theater kid. I don't know. I think if this album had like some of the qualities that the Black Parade had at this point in their career, I might not have liked it as much. I think them kind of stumbling into the theatrics of it was part of the appeal for me, for sure.
Well, I don't know that they stumble into the theatrics. I think that theatrics are intentional. I just think that when they do it best on this album is at like an individual song level and not at like a overarching story rock opera level. Like you're never gonna argue that something like "I'm Not Okay" is not a very theatrical song, but it is a single song that's very theatrical, and it doesn't depend on anything else on the album. And I think as we get into it, I'll make the argument that kind of the weaker parts of the album are the ones that fall a little too hard on the lore. But yeah, so one of the interesting things as we kind of talk a little bit about like the production of this album is that and this is something I didn't know until I read it in, I can't remember if this is in Sellout or in Where Are Your Boys Tonight, the other like kind of great recent book about this era, is that they originally wanted to record this with Mark Trombino, producer of Jimmy Eat World's Bleed American, among many other incredible albums. And the band said that they did a session with him and he told them they weren't ready, and Trombino was like, that didn't happen, I would have loved to do that record with them. So somebody is getting the wrong info, and Trombino thinks it's through the label. That is like a great what if. His style of production would put a very different spin on this album, I think. Or certainly in like the kind of background, like the I guess mental process of making a record, because Trombino is, I think, kind of historically tends to like get really tight with the entire band. Jimmy Eat World, I think, kind of had that relationship with him before they had a bit of a falling out. And I think Mineral was kind of like that with him too. Whereas like Howard Benson has this very specific style that is like he works with the vocalists. And like Frankie Iero, I think at one point said in one of the documentaries, says that like Benson just was not there when he was recording.
That was definitely in Sellout. Like him just being like, yeah, man, Benson wasn't. I guess he was the only one that didn't like just absolutely fall for Benson right away too.
Yeah, well, and they talk about like Howard Benson is like a more of a hard rock guy. Like we talked about this kind of transition with Rise Against doing a record with Nick Raskulinecz. That like it's someone who's a little bit outside of their realm, but maybe did a record or two that really appealed to them. And for Mike Hammett was the Motorhead records. That they were saying, oh, this is cool. This guy's worked with Lemmy. He's kind of, there must be something there. But have you ever listened to the episode of Krista Makes a Podcast with Kenny Vasoli from The Starting Line?
I have not.
It is a great episode if you are interested in like why Howard Benson is the way that he is, because they're talking about the song Island from Direction, and he gets deep into this idea that like Benson really, he's like the drums got to be there and the vocals have to be there, everything else is kind of incidental. And so like he does this kind of like assembly line factory style production where there's like assistants or whatever, or co-producers, not even co-producers, but yeah, like, assistants or whatever working with the guitars, working with the, auxiliary stuff or keyboards or whatever. And Benson is just, and they'll work on stuff. And so he's just like working with the vocalist the entire time. And that it can like drive a wedge in bands, and he's like not afraid to say like, your drummer isn't good enough, we're going to bring a session drummer in. And I don't know if any of that specifically happened on this record. They don't talk about that, but I think he has this style that I think some bands or some members of bands just don't gel with, but it produces pretty undeniably great records, or at least in this case it did. Yeah,
for real. It is a little disheartening in a way to think about it that way, but like this is how some producers work. They have their like kind of tentpole things that they care about, and then they smooth out anything else that comes around. I know that there were a couple songs that he like kind of had a hand in, like not rearranging necessarily, but like kind of coaxing the band in a specific direction in terms of assembly of the song, because like I think it was the Ghost of You that didn't originally have the last chorus, and he was like no, we got to have the chorus one more time, and the band was like kind of fighting against him on that, and eventually he like I guess he like got more or less forced them to do it, and then he was like, come listen to this, and they were like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And I think that was absolutely the right call. I think the band all agreed that was the right call. And,
Yeah.
With the way that song just builds to its end. I guess the other thing we should talk about before we get into the songs is the sort of extra textual, like, this album kind of charts Gerard Way's sort of seemingly falling further and further into like drugs and alcoholism, and then which then like really comes to a head on the touring later in 2004, right after the album comes out, which is very much what Life on the Murder Scene, the documentary, is about.
Yeah.
Because it's by like mid 2004, which is really like a lot more quickly after this album came out than I thought that it was. He like really hits rock bottom and gets clean, by the end of that summer, basically. And it's sort of a piece with just how everything seems to happen just incredibly fast with this band. They were like getting major label attention before they had played a show. They were, it's really a pretty quick turnaround from Bullets into Three Cheers. And then, this entire, like, they get so incredibly big in 2004 and just completely fall apart, or almost completely fall apart by the end of 2004. And then they're back together touring and writing The Black Parade by like early 2005.
Yeah, and I remember being I remember. I literally watched that documentary earlier today. But I was shocked by how short that timeline was, because it was like, this releases in June. I think Gerard like was like, the time that I hit rock bottom was like, I guess like I think it was like early August, and it was
July,
like
August,
and then he was like, and this is the day that I decided that I needed to just cold turkey quit everything. Which leads into a very fun relationship with coffee, apparently, later on after that, which I found very, very funny. I always kind of thought that the timeline on that was a lot longer than, I know that, kind of everybody in that scene kind of had a little bit of a weird relationship with pills, like even early on in their career. As evidenced, first line, second song on their first record.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't realize that that was such a compressed timeline, and like I'm glad it went the way it went, because it like, Gerard talked a little bit about like, we went to Japan and I didn't think I was coming back. Which is
wild. So much of like talk to anyone who saw them in that era, and they'll just tell you that they were a terrible live band. Yeah. And then you watch this documentary, and Gerard is like, well, I had never played a show sober before I got clean. And like, and he talks about, when they get back together to do their like late 2004 tours, and then the big, I don't have it all like written out in front of me, but they do a lot of touring like after that. And he's like, we got back together and it felt like we had a new drummer and a new singer, basically. Yeah. Like is everyone around the band felt like he was totally transformed as a singer and a performer. Following that, and which is great. Like that's the way you want that story to go.
Absolutely, yeah. It felt amazing to watch that kind of unfold over the course of that documentary, like, I was I know how it went, but
we were kind of joking before recording about how like kind of frantically edited that documentary is, that it's just like constantly jumping between live shot and interview shot and stuff, but it's actually structured quite well, because you really do feel great about the band by the time you get to the end of that story.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we should get into the songs, because they're good songs. This album starts off with Helena, which is maybe just like the defining song of this entire scene. I don't know how better to put that. This is like, I feel like everyone who heard this song and was even vaguely interested in emo or pop punk or whatever around this time was just enamored with this song, with the aesthetic, the music video. I don't know, it just owned the scene for a couple years, is my memory.
Yeah, it definitely did. And like I can't overstate rather how good that music video is. Like I didn't watch it a ton when I was younger. But it has been stuck in my craw for the last 21 years, like no question. It is so iconic. And like kind of there's now like a 4K restoration out there, which is like amazing to be able to watch. But yeah, this song is the most explicitly about Gerard and Mikey's grandmother's passing, and like kind of processing not being there with her for the last year of her life, because they are pursuing this band. Like all told, like this is a very like you see direct ties to like something like Stage 4 by Touche Amore, which I feel like I've mentioned way too many times on this podcast.
Never too many Touche Amore mentions.
Truly. But yeah, this is such a good opener. Like it really sets the tone for the album. Like it doesn't quite sound like anything else on the album, but it really sets you up for the mood of it all, I think.
Yeah, well, and it introduces a band that is evolving, I think. Like there's some great choruses, great sing-alongs, whatever on Bullets, but there's nothing that sounds as like operatic as this song does. And just like the control they have to do that kind of that quiet intro and the tension that it builds until it just explodes into that chorus is like, or I guess into the pre-chorus, but it's a phenomenally constructed song and a great like attention grabber, both as a single and as an album opener.
Yeah, I knew this like kind of implicitly, but I didn't until I was like kind of staring at the lyrics for the 100th time. Didn't really realize like that the second verse on this is half length, so we get back to the chorus faster.
Yep.
Which like it doesn't feel cheapened for it. Like it's like this is good song construction if you want a song to get stuck in people's heads.
Yeah. There's some cool production stuff going on in the bridge, like some really interesting vocal effects. Almost feels like Gerard is like underwater or something there.
Yeah.
Is a cool thing going on there, and then it just explodes again at the end. Just an awesome song.
It really is. I think my favorite little vocal bit on this song is the way that Gerard delivers "Well, if you carry on this way" towards the end.
There's just a little bit of like a yelp to it. Yeah, his voice breaks a bit. It's great performance.
Can I tell a stupid little personal story about this song before we move on?
Of course.
So I, in 2019, pre-pandemic, I went to a conference for work. Debatable whether or not I learned anything worthwhile for work there. I maybe got reprimanded for that a little bit when I got back, and I gave a presentation that did not bring BizVal. But towards the end of the conference, somebody was like, "Hey, we're setting up a karaoke night. People should come out." So I went to this karaoke bar that was in an alley in Nashville somewhere. It seemed kind of sketchy. It was great, to be clear. But I was like chatting with folks like outside the bar while we were waiting for people to come in, and then I like kind of went in with this large crowd of people. You remember how I looked in 2019? Like I had like an undercut and like long swoopy hair on top.
Yeah.
I was wearing all black, wearing like an Infant Island shirt, a beanie and shit like that. Walked up to the bouncer. The guy just points at me and says, "This guy's gonna sing My Chemical Romance tonight." And I did. I sang Helena, and I didn't do a very good job, I don't think, but I had a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I
immediately pegged as the emo kid.
Immediately clocked. Anyway,
really funny.
that's my stupid little story about that song. I think about that a lot.
After that is Give 'Em Hell Kid. Just an absolute like barn burner of a punk song to get into the rest of the album after the intro or after the opener. This is I guess one of the more lore heavy songs, although I think it's the one that I least care that the lore is heavy, because it's just again a really great chorus with some really cool kind of production stuff going on, really awesome guitars. I don't know, it's just that the song is just like pure energy. What do you think of this one?
Oh, I love this one. That gnarly bass tone at the beginning is so good. There's just a lot of great stuff going on here. That chorus is kind of immaculate. The vocal delivery in the verse just like really like if you were lulled into any sense of security by Helena, you are taken right back out of it by this song. I love the whoa-ohs in the bridge. I think those are great. This is one of those songs that like sits on the edge of like, if you're in the car with somebody and they've never heard this record before, but they're like vaguely aware of MCR, like I feel like this kind of like makes you realize, oh, like this is a different band than what I've heard of them on the radio a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's stuff you could never do in like a single in the song, like the way the vocals are like filtered and buried in the verses. There's a reason this wasn't picked as a single, but it's still incredibly catchy.
Yeah, it's towards the front of the album for a reason. Like it's a great way to just like gather a bunch of energy for what will be an album that has a lot of energy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like what the album structures we talked about with Rise Against a lot, where they would usually open with this kind of like, like a big call to action song. Although this, I mean, the Helena's not quite that, but it's a very big statement song to open the album. And then the second track on every Rise Against album is like one of the fastest, brashest songs that they have.
Definitely.
Then after that is To the End, a song seemingly based on the short story A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner, which I think is something I remember reading in like early high school for a class. I did not go back and revisit it, but Faulkner's a great writer. And this is also a great song. 3 for 3 on choruses up to this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. This one, again, just a ton of energy, and the mix of something you can so easily sing along to with imagery that's so scary is the wrong word, but it's obviously like horror adjacent. But just like, I don't know, it's that like kind of gothy, like a little bit edgy, but not like corny stuff imagery in this song that I think it's all over the album, and it still really works for me even 20 years later.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real balancing act they strike too, because like if you just look at the lyrics and you see that it opens up with he calls the mansion not a house but a tomb, like it's like, I don't know, man, but then you put on the album and it's like, oh yeah, that checks out. It really is a tomb.
they sell it because they're not like, there's no pretension to it. There's no like, we're better than this, we're cooler than this, we're doing it ironically. It's like, this is just what we are interested in. This is who we are. Like there's an honesty to the theatrics of the album that's I mean, it's endearing. It just works.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I just oh yeah, there's like this I mean, there's really sick guitars on this song, and there's like maybe a little bit of a synth thing. I've never been 100% sure if that is a synth or like a overtly affected guitar, but I think that's a really cool like kind of sonic element to have in this song.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any keyboard credits on this one. Howard Benson is credited as playing the organ on this one.
That's definitely happening on the Ghost of You and going into Jet Set Life. I'm not
definitely
sure where else on the album it happens. But yeah, it's either way, there's some really cool like texture stuff going on here, and like it's interesting to introduce something like that in a lead line on a very like heavily guitar album, especially this early in it. But yeah, the big harmonized To the End at the end is also just immaculate. I love that so much.
Yeah, there's a great moment in the documentary. I don't think it's for this song. Maybe it is. Where Frank and Gerard are practicing their harmonies, like a cappella in the green room before a show.
Yeah,
I love that moment because it's just like, you don't think of this band as like we're gonna like, when I watch them play, like it seems like the harmonies, the backing vocals are like the last thing you would think about because they're jumping around the stage and falling over and stuff. But they actually they do use that stuff really well, and those layers help the songs a lot.
Definitely.
Next up is What They Do to Guys Like Us in Prison. Song probably most notable for featuring Burt McCracken from The Used. Who comes in this wildly stereo panned vocal thing where he's in one ear and Gerard is in the other, and they're kind of like singing over each other.
Yeah.
This is the one song on the A side of this record that doesn't feel like it kind of hangs with everything else to me. it's like rougher and angrier and clearly like not meant to be a single. It's probably one of my least favorite songs on the album for that. But what do you think of this one?
I like this one a lot. I'm gonna say the line. This is gonna be a running theme for this record. No, I see where you're coming from. It is maybe a little bit less cohesive, I think, than the rest of the songs on this album for sure. Like we got this super bouncy, like almost calm intro about being in the middle of a gunfight, which is a very odd contrast to have.
But then thing.
Yeah, exactly. But then we have this like really sudden turn into a punk track with all this tremolo picking. I do think there's like some really fun vocal stuff happening on this. Specifically the All the Trouble I've Seen that happens like 2/3 of the way through the song. I think the Burt screams going into the really wild solo are kind of fun. Yeah, I don't know. Like it definitely not single material, but I don't know. I think just as an exercise in like being a kind of wild song, like it kind of works for me still. I do really like the delivery of the "Life is but a dream for the dead" line. I always kind of liked the like gasping screams at the end, followed by the like little chuckle.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
This song is kind of like a self-contained short story, which it seems like people try to connect back to the album, like the lore or whatever of the needing to kill 1,000 evil men, but I don't know if I see that, or I certainly don't. I just don't care about it that much, like you were saying.
I don't get that impression at all, honestly.
Yeah, this is also truly one of those, like, as good as this song is, it's sequenced between two of like the best songs.
Yes, I will give you that for sure.
It's never gonna be like I'm waiting for this one, because what I'm waiting for is I'm Not Okay.
That, you know what? That's fair. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah. So next up is I'm Not Okay. I promise. This was the big single from this album. The song that kind of, Helena was probably bigger. I don't know which one was bigger. To me, this is the song from this album. To me, at least in my mind, this is a perfect like emo punk song. It's so catchy. It's so it felt like dangerous to me when I first heard it. And now it's just I don't even know. It's held up so well over the years, better than almost anything else from this entire scene.
Yeah, this song sold me on this band for sure. If I wasn't already, like it would have cemented it for me. Like I was 16 when this album came out. Like I needed to hear somebody that I admired saying something like "I'm not okay," like straight up.
Yeah, and like owning it and not like wallowing. Not like wallowing in it, just being like, yeah, I guess I'm just not, and being able to turn that into like this, this like larger than life performance. I don't know. It's empowering, I guess, in its way.
Yeah, I do feel like a specific thing that I need to point out is I was obviously a huge fan of anything that had octave guitar playing on it at the time, so this intro really does it for me.
Yeah. Did you see in the show notes that I put in that I identified the exact day that I first heard My Chemical Romance?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So this I had mentioned in our Bullets episode that my what I thought was maybe a false memory was tuning into MTV to hear some pop video or whatever and seeing the video for I'm Not Okay, which I had kind of like 80% right. It was that when I in Life on the Murder Scene, there's some clips of them playing I'm Not Okay on in the studio on TRL. This pretty memorable live performance that includes Frank Iero jumping on Bob Breyer's drums and knocking them off of the drum riser, and he has to finish the song without a kick drum.
Yeah, the kick drum just literally goes sideways.
It's a pretty incredible performance, but I was like, oh, I wonder if that's what I saw, and so I went and found the TRL archive, which is a great basically plain text resource of everything that was ever on TRL, both the countdowns and premieres and guests and stuff like that. And so that was it was January 17th, 2005 that they were on. That. Yeah, January 17th, 2005 that they're playing I'm Not Okay live on TRL, which is also the same day that they had Jesse McCartney on to play Beautiful Soul, and also the day that they premiered the video for Simple Plan's Shut Up. So either the Simple Plan or Jesse McCartney things, I was like locked in. I'm ready to see, this stuff, this kind of cutesy pop or pop punk that I like at the time, and being scared is maybe not the right word, but certainly like taken aback by this like totally unhinged performance of I'm Not Okay. It really, really stuck with me. And I don't know that I like went and would like try to go find the record or whatever at that point, but that was in my head, and then 2005 is such a foundational year for me musically. It's when I'm like getting into everything that I like now is, I hear for the first time in 2005, from My Chem to Thursday to the Junior Varsity to the All American Rejects. I'd heard that before, but like that's when Move Along comes out. Like there's just so much that happened that year that was so important to me, and so like to realize that, like, oh, this was really the beginning of that year was kind of like a nice thing to have confirmed all these years later.
Definitely. This is such a singular song. I think over time, like, Helena has become a little bit more like, I guess the defining song from this, just kind of in the greater zeitgeist, but like, yeah, this one just like, it just blew my mind straight out of my head a little bit.
Yeah, well, and the music video for this is also like pretty iconic. It's, you're talking about the kind of like prep school thing. I actually forgot to watch the music videos today, but they're all in my head from seeing them hundreds of times over the years. But they did 2 music videos for this. There's an earlier version that is less kind of story based or whatever, and then Mark Webb comes in and directs the 3 big music videos for this album.
Yeah, that early music video, I don't think I'd ever seen that before, but it is it's like, it's mostly live footage interspersed with like the band going to like pick up Gerard from his parents' house. So it like features shots of the inside of the room that, gets talked about a lot in the origin story of MCR, where there's just like this like sliver of light coming in through a window because it's in a basement.
It's the kind of video you make when you don't think it's going to get played on MTV every day.
Exactly. Yeah. I just found it very funny that when they get to the "Trust Me" part of the song, it's like it's juxtaposed against a video of Gerard clearly like yelling it into a microphone live. And I'm like, that's off. But you know what? It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right, which part of the song is better? Is it the "Trust Me" or the "I'm Not O-Fucking K" from the last chorus?
Oh, it's the "I'm Not O-Fucking K." I got so fucking upset watching those music videos earlier because they're both the "I'm Really Not Okay" versions. Which is terrible.
The radio edit. I forgot about that.
I hate it.
I might be a "Trust Me" person. I think that moment in the song is so good.
It's an insanely close second. I think that my love of the "I'm Not O-Fucking K" is mostly based on how mad I get about not getting to hear that when it's been censored.
That's funny. Great song. After that is "The Ghost of You." This is kind of the first slower, not quite ballad. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of a power ballad. A halftime slower jam, certainly slower for them. It feels kind of bold for a band from the scene to try to pull off a song like this so early in the album, and also then it works because it ends up being a single. This is the one that I know the music video better than I know the song, I think, because this is, by the time I'm like into My Chemical Romance, this is the next big single, kind of like spring of 2005, I think. And this music video where they're all playing World War II soldiers, sort of doing the Normandy invasion, it was on every single morning while I was getting ready for school, is what I remember. I feel like I heard the song every day for months.
I believe it. That, again, another iconic music video. Like, they were 3 for 3 on this one if we're not counting the original "I'm Not Okay" video. It was funny in the doc. They kind of talked about how they came up with the idea, and I guess I forget exactly what order things happened, but Gerard was talking to Billy Joe or Trey Cool from Green Day, and they were like, yeah, we're making this video where we're like, kind of recreating some stuff about the war in Iraq, and he was like, fuck. uh, and like he watched it and it was like, okay, we're doing two very different things here. But yeah, like it's such a good video. They had like a $500,000 budget or something for it, so clearly it was well produced. But like there's just some cool shit happening in it, like the bit where the kind of two scenes that are happening, the invasion of Normandy, and the kind of ballroom dancing scene that's happening, with like folks partners and the band being on stage, being the like, the military band. When those two parts collide and the water seeps into the ballroom, that's like, that image is a little hard ingrained in my head at this point.
Yeah.
As just like maybe, this is cinema type thing. It's not cinema, it's a music video, but it's also cinema a little bit.
I mean, like, that's the thing, though. These videos, all three of the videos for this record were directed by Mark Webb, who's like a legit, movie director. I think his first movie isn't until after this, I think. But, like, he obviously had those aspirations. And, yeah, so 500 Days of Summer is 2009. And then after that, he's doing Spider-Man movies and, like, big stuff. So, I mean, he's this isn't like Joe Schmo directing this. He's a legit director, did a ton of music videos. And, I mean, it makes sense that these videos look good. Like, they should if they spent that much money and got, real names to work on them.
Yeah, you get a person who's in the grand tradition of people like David Fincher who are going to just go on and make cool shit.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously Mark Webb has never made a movie as good as a David Fincher movie.
Sorry,
but,
that was a real overstatement, but he was the first person I could think of.
That's exactly right. I mean, him, Jonathan Glazer's the same way, like guys who came up in the music video world and then turned that into a film career. David Fincher is just more talented than all of them.
Well, yeah, but David Fincher is also one of our greatest living directors.
Yeah.
I do want to... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to bring up how this is, like, connecting the song back to Helena and to the Gerard and Mikey's assessment of this record as being an album about their grandmother's death. Like, this is one of the most, like, explicitly, like, kind of grief-stricken songs on the album.
Definitely, yeah. I always misheard the line at the end of the world, or the last thing I see, as you're the last thing I see, which I don't think is a less effective line, but I feel like when I realized what it actually was, I was like, oh, this song it's even more introspective on that front.
Death obsessed.
Yeah, being death obsessed for sure. I think maybe my favorite part of this song is the bridge, though. Just the kind of like the "If I Fall Down" part, and then you get the understanding in a car crash snare hits, and then you get the big woes.
Yep.
I know that not every and one double flam snare hit is supposed to be understanding in a car crash, but I want to believe that this one is.
I mean, I feel like a lot of them probably are, if not consciously, subconsciously calling back to that, because it is. I mean, that's a case where that album, like, everybody cites that as a huge influence, and every drummer has played that. Every drummer who's played anything in the emo or pop punk world has played that bit, and so like. Whether or not it's an explicit reference, it's just there in the ether of this genre.
Yeah, for sure.
Next up is This Jet Set Life Is Gonna Kill You, which is kind of, this is the Ghost of You is the continuation of the kind of the grief side of the record. This is the continuation of the addiction side. This, I mean, to me, just really feels like a song about not being able to cope with the demands of a band that is getting too big too fast and self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. It just is right there. It's what Gerard was going through at the time, and it's what the song's about, I think. Yeah,
I definitely get that impression too. I would be remiss if I didn't say that this the organ transition between The Ghost of You and this is so essential. And I feel like early streaming ruined that for a little bit, just because gapless playback was like not very much a priority for them early on.
Yeah, it's still bad on my current setup. The gapless playback was not working right for me.
Rip. Another misheard lyric that I had on this album was on this song. I always thought the check into the Hotel Bella Muerte was De La Muerte, which also kind of makes sense in this context. You know, the Hotel of the Dead. But I feel like I put too much weight on that, so I was like a little disappointed when I found out it wasn't that.
You got the death part right. I think that's the important one.
Yeah, that's all that matters. I know some Spanish. You know, in terms of musical stuff on this song, I feel like the kind of slow build on the verses going into the choruses is like really kind of a standout thing on this song in particular. But then we have one of my favorite tricks, which is we have the same lyrics early on in the song as in the bridge, but we have a slightly different delivery. Or sorry, this is bridge and outro on this song. My bad. But you know, like just changing it up just enough that it's like, oh, this is still interesting the second time around.
Yeah, and I feel like Gerard is pushing his range a little bit too on this song. There's a kind of falsetto-y thing in the bridge that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just the all right in the bridge or in the choruses are awesome.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good.
This is kind of similar to you know what they do to guys like us in prison. Like, this is not one of my favorite songs on the album, but it's got stuff on it that I think is really good.
Yeah. That last "Oh Sugar" really gets me every single time.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else on this song?
No, I don't think so. And I'm not gonna have much on the next one because it's an interlude.
Well, yeah, the next one is just like, you know, Tape Hiss and a prayer.
Which I think is great. I love Tape Hiss.
Yeah, the album needs a moment like this to kind of reset after, you know, so many kind of hard hitting songs in a row.
Yeah,
and you know, you gotta center yourself to then say thank you for the venom.
Yeah, to get hit by the riff.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the venom is, I mean, I was raving about I'm Not Okay being kind of the like marquee song of this era, this band, but like thank you for the venom is, I think, my favorite My Chemical Romance song.
I think that's a fair favorite song to have.
I'm pretty sure it is. And some of it's this like metalcore intro riff. But I think a lot of it is Gerard is just like on one this entire song. It's my favorite vocal performance I think he's ever given.
Oh yeah, I have hurt my vocal cords so many times screaming along to this in the car. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the lyrics are great. Particularly the "You want to follow something, give me a better cause to lead."
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have such a fond memory of, which is weird to say fond with what I'm about to say, of being this like sad 8th grader in the back of the bus with my bright orange CD player listening to this song. Like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure I was super like, you know, upset or depressed or whatever at the time. And now I just look back on it. It's like, it was me and my music. And I was so happy then and in my own way.
Yeah, same, except my CD player was metallic green and I was in high school. Like and I wasn't taking the bus. But I did take my CD player everywhere I went, along with my massive wallet of CDs.
Yeah. Do you make up the song to be like a sort of a critique of the music industry or of the scene or this like scene that was building up around them at the time?
I get that impression a little bit. It's, you know, it's obviously heavily veiled in, you know, the kind of My Chemical Romance brand. But I think that does, you know, kind of sum it up in a way. I mean, yeah, especially, you know, kind of given the context of where Gerard was at around the time of recording here, like that, you know, that the music business and music scene as it was definitely fed into, you know, kind of his plight at the time, which I think really explicitly comes out in this song.
Yeah, and in a way it's its own kind of mission statement too, of this like you know, of him saying that there is no like the makeup and the costumes and whatever, like there's no, they're not doing it to try to impress anyone else. It's what they're interested in and into, and how they want to present themselves as a band, and like I feel like it's weird that this song was written when it was, because I feel like he could not have had any idea what was coming in the next few years, where then it's like everyone is imitating them. It almost feels prophetic in that way.
It really does. Yeah, it's kind of wild on that front. Yeah, like you know, including but not limited to the now effectively like over-memed halftime bit at the end, including a really great halftime triplet fill. This song just fucking bangs. Like, that's kind of...
It's great. But then after that, you get to Hang 'em High. This is where the album starts to I go off the rails is far too strong for what I'm going to say. But I think that after Thank You for the Venom, this batch of songs at the end are the songs that feel the most bulletsy, if that makes sense. They start to... It feels like the choruses aren't quite as catchy and as well developed. It feels like the songs are structured a little more like some of the ones we were talking about on Bullets, where they're just kind of a little more linear in structure and are just a little denser, a little more about the lore, the story, the concept of the album. And in a way that they don't land for me as well as the rest of the album before this. And I guess it starts with Hang 'em High, which is kind of like a Western movie themed song. It does have the cool sort of kind of spaghetti Western style intro through the My Chemical Romance lens, which is cool. It's just a relentless song that is really about like an entire town being massacred. But I think I don't know, it has never hooked me the way that the rest of this album has. Where are you at on this one?
I love this one. What do you expect me to? No,
yeah, I know.
No, I really think that this song is this song has always stood out to me, and it is largely a vocal delivery thing, but also just kind of an abrasiveness of the song as a whole thing. Like this was one of the things that definitely set me off on a path of like, if your music doesn't have screams in it, I don't care about it, tear. Which like probably made me a worse person for a little while. But I've always been attracted to how just like kind of unabashedly abrasive most of this song is, which is wild given how insanely catchy the chorus is. Like, I would argue most of this song is not palatable to your average listener, which is not me saying I'm like better than an average listener. It's just me saying that I like when things are loud and noisy.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and again, this I would be so curious to know if this is like a Howard Benson thing, or if this is if he kind of didn't care about this song or certain songs in the album, like. To digress a second back to the starting line thing that I was talking about earlier. One of the things that they said was that Howard Benson was like, let me tell you guys what to do for 3 songs. Listen to me do everything I say on 3 songs, and you can do whatever the heck you want on the rest of the other 10 songs on the album. And I kind of wonder if there was a similar thing going on with this album, where if he was like, we're going to do, Ghost of You and I'm Not Okay or whatever my way, and then you guys can do your thing on the rest of them. Because this song kind of feels like one for us after we did one for them, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And we talked about this quite a bit with Rise Against, I think. This definitely feels less, I don't even want to say less polished than everything else, but this feels less like it has a producer's hand on it. In a lot of ways. But that said, like I do love like a lot of the like really going for it on vocals that Gerard is doing on this one. Like the grab a 6 gun from your back and the angels just cut out our tongue lines are like, I can't scream like that, but I want to do a MCR cover set so bad just so I can do those lines.
So you can give it a try.
Give it my best, and then not be able to talk for a week or so. It is very noteworthy that this song does feature Keith Morris in the bridge of Black Flag and the Circle Jerks and now Off fame. It's noteworthy, one, because it's Keith Morris, which is kind of a wild pull for an album like this. Apparently Frank ran into him at a convenience store or a gas station and was just like, hey man, would you be on one of our songs? And I guess he just agreed, which cool. Is very funny. I guess the actual like spoken word part that's like kind of buried in the bridge. People have been like people spent a long time trying to figure out exactly what it was. There was I forget when this interview I found was from, but I guess Keith was like, oh yeah, like this was the story my dad told me when I was a teenager, and the story is about a truck driver like who basically gets decapitated by his truck, is the short version of it, which is a very, very wild thing to have in in an album this popular, I'll say. But the other like kind of fun thing about Keith Morris being pulled onto this is through a lot of the interviews leading up to, or I guess about this album, Gerard talks a lot about how like his, I guess the way he puts it is kind of obsession with the idea of revenge is born out of him hearing Revenge by Black Flag for the first time, years before. So that's kind of a neat little full circle moment for the band.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But yeah, the other thing I really like about this song is how it just like accelerates at the end until it just literally falls over.
Yeah, it's like
that's kind of a fun touch.
Yeah, it can't get any faster or louder at that point.
Yeah.
Next up it's not a fashion statement, it's a death wish. This is the song that does start off with the Sandman reference. They had said that this is the first song that they wrote for the album.
It was at the end of that Fireside Bowl set that we
it
had
was
on the notes last week.
I mean, and I say that somewhat derogatorily, but like it feels like it. Like this is the one that feels most like Bullets to me, in its structure, and it's got these like lots of parts, and then sometimes kind of sudden changes in feel or tempo or whatever. And maybe not the strongest melodies compared to the highlights on the album. But I think it does build to a really cool ending.
I honestly, this is one of my favorite songs on the album. Okay. I think part of that is I am now that I am 30 or 40 years old. That like kind of early opening line of you told me this gets harder. Well, it did. Devoid of the context of the lore, that line hits really hard at this point in my life. But also the way that Gerard like kind of breathily goes into and then starts yelling on I will avenge my ghost with every breath I take, like that might be one of my favorite line deliveries on the whole album. That
part is awesome.
But yeah, I will also I definitely agree with you that like the ending is like maybe the coolest part of the song, like that kind of triplet thing under the last I will remember you going into the end is so choice. But yeah, I don't know. Like this was kind of a late bloomer for me. I didn't pay a ton of attention to it, earlier on compared to songs like Thank You for the Venom and Helena and I'm Not Okay. But it's kind of gained popularity in my life, at least in the last like 5 or so years, but more or less since the reunion and me like really going hard in the paint on this band again.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny how we are drawn to somewhat different sides of this album. Because I think I like poppier My Chemical Romance so much more than like kind of the heavy, dense version of them.
I mean, you're correct too, because they do it so well. I just also like the other thing too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is bad. It is this part of the album is the one that doesn't stand out to me quite as much.
No, believe me, I totally understand. I'm not like trying to shit on your opinion or anything.
Next up is Cemetery Drive, and this is kind of the culmination of the grief arc of the album, I think.
Yeah.
Just very much a song about the death of a loved one and not coping with it well. Using some different styles, or at least different tones of guitars and production than they use elsewhere on the album. It's a bit of a quieter song in the verses that then again just like rocks in this kind of desperate way that Helena also does in the choruses.
Yeah, I feel like this song really sticks out, just kind of in terms of this song has like a parabolic arc, kind of like it starts with this like kind of just like little driving, snare and bass thing. And it kind of just builds into a more rocking song, and then it like settles back down into kind of more of its intro feel towards the end. I think it's got kind of a cool arc on that front. I do think that Back Home Off the Run is an underrated turn of phrase. Like saying off the run as opposed to like on the run or on the lam. Like it's a simple, like maybe almost cheesy thing, but I really like it. But yeah, I don't know. The way downs, in all their forms really get me.
Yeah, I don't have a ton more to say about this song.
Yeah, I think this is a nice come down before we get to the finale here.
Yeah. So then the closing track on the album is I Never Told You What I Do for a Living. And this is sort of the culmination of the story side of the album, the concept, the rock opera part of it.
Yeah.
In which the Demolition Lovers, the two characters on the cover of the album, the man has been out there, after his deal with the devil, trying to kill 1,000 evil men to be able to see his lover again, and then discovers at the end that the last one he has to kill is himself. And it's this, this kind of like, you make a deal with the devil, and it's always gonna, the house is always gonna win, basically.
Yep.
The things that I love in this song are just some of the things that this band does best. It's noisy and kind of chaotic, and then it builds to this big epic ending that's in 6/8, and this like, I don't know, that the never again melody is so catchy. That's the one that's been like in my head all week, even more so than like the big singles. I think it's because I'm kind of rediscovering this song for the first time. This is not one that has, was a one I went back to a lot over the years, but I think it is a pretty strong closing track.
Yeah, I think the outro in particular of this song, or like maybe just call it the back third of this song, like really does bring it home and like really makes this work as a closer. Obviously, like it being the closing arc of the larger story at play here means it kind of has to be here. I feel like sonically it works too. Like the like getting to that like I can't clean the blood off the sheets of my bed, like vocal delivery, like immaculate. Like those tortured screams are great. But yeah, I love that we get into a 6/8 bit here too. But yeah, I really like this song a lot, and I feel like it does a good job of like kind of wrapping up most of what the album thus far has been about. Obviously the story notwithstanding, I feel like it works even a little bit independent of that.
Yeah, there's this kind of the juxtaposition of the the death imagery, the sort of inevitability, the grief, all it's building to all that, but then it's got this like we'll love again, we'll laugh again thing in there too, that there's this like kind of longing for an optimism for a better place at the same time as you're also literally about to get shot and die.
Yeah. Do you listen to the demo for this song, right? The one that shows up on Life on the Murder Scene, the CD version.
Yeah.
It's not very good. It's sorry, Dems. This is going to be something that I'm probably going to say more times throughout this series. But yeah, the lyrics like it's a demo, so like kind of whatever. But this was one that like I don't know if it came together in the studio or how much of a hand like Howard Benson had in kind of shaping the lyrical content of this. But like there's like some repetition of the word baby in the demo that feels really weird. Like specifically there's that line in the final version of the song. It ain't the money, and it sure as hell ain't just for the fame. Whereas in the demo version it ain't for the money, baby, I just do it for the fame. Which is so odd to me as a line, like thematically for this album. And maybe that was just because like we weren't sure where the story was gonna go yet. Like this maybe wasn't supposed to be the closing track yet. I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah, I mean it just is more evidence that they're pretty good at refining the songs over the course of however many days or weeks or whatever they're working on them. Yeah, that's. Very few bands, I think, or writers can get the lyrics exactly right the first time.
For sure. I found that really notable because I was feeling like really hot coming off of listening to the album as a whole, and then I put that on and I was like, oh, this is weird because I had never listened to it before.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're already kind of talking about the additional songs and stuff. Did you want to say anything else about Three Cheers, the album proper, before we get into the other stuff?
No, not anything that I haven't already said. Like it's hard for me to overstate my love for this album. And like I feel like I worry a lot about how nostalgia like kind of taints my views of things that I loved in high school. But like the more I listen to this record, the more like I feel kind of reaffirmed in my love for it. Because like I feel like I'm kind of picking apart, like specifically in the context of doing this podcast, like what exactly it is about this album that appeals to me, and like why, you know, the things that like are maybe supposed to be explicit in the album, namely, you know, the story, like don't super grip me that much, but the album still does. Yeah, I think it's amazing that an album like this holds up 21 years later, especially given the number of bad copies that we got not long after it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to have the same experience with Black Parade, because that was my high school album, which we'll talk about next week.
For sure.
But yeah, this one was more of a, like, I loved a lot of the singles, and I'm now going back and hearing it as an album in full, and you know, it's just kind of coming at it from the opposite way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're running a little bit long, but we can hit a lot of these B-sides and et cetera stuff pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah.
The Life on the Murder Scene CD side also includes a demo of a song called Bury Me in Black and Desert Song, a couple of additional songs from this era. Bury Me in Black is a way heavier song, I think, than a lot of this record. Very horror movie influenced. What do you think of this one, real quick?
I love this one a lot. No, I legitimately, I don't know like when exactly this was written. Like this is one of those songs that sounds like it maybe could be Bullets era, or like coming right out of Bullets era. But my guess would be if this was originally supposed to be included on the album, somebody said this feels too similar to Thank You for the Venom. Which is admittedly a better song.
Yeah, and it doesn't really feel like it's thematically adding anything to either of the main through lines of the album.
No, definitely not. It kind of sits outside both those camps. So like I'm glad that it, you know, got out there at some point, because I do enjoy listening to it quite a bit, but yeah, it would not have made any sense on the album.
Yeah, Desert Song, on the other hand, Gerard has said that he thinks this should have been the song that closed the album. I assume just like, you know, being the next track after I Never Told You What I Do for a Living. This is a pretty haunting song, really, about, it's kind of similarly to Jet Set Life, a song about the, you know, coping with the stress of being on the road with drugs. This is I don't know. I had not actually heard this song before this week. This is a very good song.
It is, yeah. This is one of those songs that I see people talk a lot about on like Reddit and the forums and stuff that I had also like not really checked out, but it's really good. Yeah, it's a largely acoustic song. There's like some electric guitar going on there, but like nothing like anything else on the album. And like it feels heavily inspired by like some of the like Smashing Pumpkins lighter stuff, who are obviously like a pretty big influence on this band too.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this, because I don't think given it enough earnest listens to have a solid opinion on it, but like I was maybe a little floored by this one, and I kind of wish we got more of it.
Yeah, I mean, it would end the album on a very different note, I think.
It would, yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting what if to think about that being on the album.
Totally.
And then there's Sister to Sleep, which is a song that has never actually been released, but is kind of important in the My Chemical Romance sort of world, you know, fan world. This is a song that I've just played live a bunch in the pre Three Cheers days. And then somewhat legendarily at one of the last shows on the reunion tour, opened a set with it, or I guess played Foundations of Decay and then played this.
Yeah.
I could not make out really anything of interest to say about this song from the live videos that I could find. Just that it, similar to Bury Me in Black, feels heavier and a little more like the songs from Bullets than what ended up on 3 Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, my literal only notes on this one are, yeah, this is a straight up rocker, and there's some really good screams on this one. Especially given that, like, you know, the video that we watched was from 2022, so like Gerard really knows how to go for it without hurting himself.
Yeah. All right, we should speed round the covers.
Yes, yeah, we should do
okay.
that. They're
All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Whatever.
It's
I feel
really
like,
not a great cover.
I feel like if the whole thing had been a piano ballad, like the first like quarter of it is, it would be a much better version of that song.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Under Pressure with The Used.
I like it, and I know that's a
It's
maybe
really
controversial
good.
take. I've heard people don't like this one, and I don't understand why.
No,
like,
this is good because because the Queen Bowie thing, like it's if it was just one of these bands covering Under Pressure, I don't think it would be that good. But Burt McCracken and Gerard Way are leaning into the like we are two icons of an era of like our particular corner of like the whatever counterculture weird we are the Bowie and the Freddie Mercury of our era. Like it seems strange to say that, but they kind of were at
in
that
this
time.
scene, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And like that's why it works. It would, like I said, you need both of them, and you need it to happen at the exact like day that it happened, basically, for it to work.
Right.
But it really does.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And like that aside, it's a pretty straightforward cover, and I think they just do it really well.
Do you know which band did the music?
I don't offhand.
I don't either. I was trying to find out, but I'm sure it's out there, and I just missed it. But not that it matters too much. It's all about the vocals on this one. Yeah, and then the cover of Astro Zombies from Tony Hawk's American Wasteland.
I like this one a lot too. I have more respect for the Misfits than I have ability to enjoy the Misfits. So I'm actually pretty keen on covers of them, because I do love hearing like the influence of that band like kind of be reinterpreted through the band that they influenced. I like the Misfits just fine, but like I went and saw quote unquote the original Misfits once and decided I never need to see them again because that was all I needed. What do you think?
You need that Michael Graves tour.
Yeah, clearly.
No, this is cool. I have no affinity whatsoever for the Misfits. Just a band I've never really listened to that much. And so when I hear Misfits covers, it's usually, oh, that was cool. But that's about how I feel about this.
Totally fair.
Yeah, I guess last thing we should say is that as of a week and a half from now, or this week when you're
Friday,
hearing this,
as this releases, yeah.
Yep. The new 2025 reissue of this album will be out. It's a new mix by Rich Costey, who mixed some of the original album. I found a 128K MP3 folder of this because it leaked weirdly early by accidentally going up on a bunch of streaming services when it was announced instead of on the release date. So I think it is not a like detrimental remix. I think certain parts of it are really good. I think the drums sound awesome. But I miss some of the like bite of the original mix, and I think it's strange to hear Gerard's vocals so high in the mix on a lot of this stuff. It's a very modern sounding mix, and I think part of the charm of this album is that it is not modern sounding at all anymore. I don't know. What do you think of the new mix?
Oh, no, I mean, I think I largely agree with you. I do like that this new mix means that some stuff that was like either straight up thrown out of the original mix or got kind of buried in the original mix gets to kind of get resurfaced. Like there's a lot of vocal rebalancing in general on this new mix, where like you can kind of hear some of the background vocals more clearly. There are things that like straight up like there's a bit on Give 'Em Hell Kid that I was like, oh, I've literally never heard this before in my life, and that's because it wasn't on the original mix, but it was recorded for it. But yeah, I don't know. I there's some the keys are a lot higher in the Ghost of You than they are on the original mix, and I don't hate that personally. A lot higher in the mix, not like there's more high end in them or anything like that.
They actually changed the key.
Yeah, it's a different song actually.
It's up 2 whole steps.
No, but I don't know. I actually my first couple listens to this were actually during the like weird leak period, because I am a Tidal user, and the whole album was up for like 2.5 days, with the exception of the live tracks. Weirdly, I don't think one of the live tracks was available that was supposed to be, which was maybe the weirdest part of all of that. But I think it was cool to kind of get to hear this album with fresh ears again in a weird way. Like, obviously, like, I've been sitting with the original mix for 21 years now, and like that's always how this album is going to sound to me. But like, this is the closest I will ever get to hearing it again for the first time, which I just think is kind of neat. And, you know, kind of like you said, it's not a detrimental change. Like, I don't feel like any of these songs are like fundamentally changed by the remix. And definitely I don't think any of them are necessarily made worse by it. So like, it was kind of a cool experience to get to have. And now I don't get to have that again because I've listened to this a couple of times. But we'll see how I feel when I put it on the turntable for the first time when it officially releases.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. We will be back next week talking about the Black Parade with a guest, unless something goes wrong. But in the meantime, find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com and on Instagram at noisefloorpod. And I do not have a good way to end these episodes still. Bye.
Well, we did skip recommendations also.
Oh, god damn it. Yeah, we should do those real quick. This episode is very long, but yeah, let's do real quick recommendations.
Yeah, sorry to make this episode drag more, but I have to edit it, so it's probably fine. I'll go first because I actually remembered mine, and it wasn't an album, weirdly enough. It was another podcast. In fact, another Chicago-based music podcast that I've been getting into lately because we have friends who have been on it, and we have friends who are going to be on it in the non-distant future. The podcast is called Album Reviews. It is another like kind of album by album podcast, but it is specifically framed around usually a guest brings an album that is important to them, usually somebody in the Chicago scene, because that's how you do it in person, but the album is paired along with a drink of some kind, alcoholic or otherwise, and you just get to hear people talk about albums that they love and introduce the hosts sometimes to a new album, which I think is really, really fun. Yeah, I've just been kind of digging into it this week. I just listened to the episode on Transgender Dysphoria Blues with Robot Civil War, which I thought was really fun. I don't know anything about that band, but I love that album. Our friend Bree has been on this podcast talking about Frank Turner, and a couple more people that we know through the scene and are friends with. Joram from Rustring has been on this show. But yeah, it's a really fun podcast. They have a lot of fun bits that they do, and they give out an award to the album at the end of every episode, which I find very fun.
I would love to be on that show. It sounds really good.
I meant to ask you if we should apply to be on that show, because there is just an application we can fill out.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Cool. All right. Album reviews you'll be hearing from us soon.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to recommend, I guess it's an EP at this point. It's more of been a slowly updating collection of songs. Spanish Love Songs has been doing, they're called the No Joy Sessions, just reimaginings of songs from their album No Joy from a couple years ago. They have 4 of them out right now, and I think there's another one coming out soonish. But they're not like, some of them are kind of straightforward acoustic versions. Other ones are total reinventions in completely different styles with different lyrics, or like kind of like lyrics from the demo versions of the songs. I just think these songs are incredible, and they're just very nice to hear in another form. Like these things always are. I don't know. I'm just a big Spanish Love Songs fan, and I think anything that band does is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they're incredible songwriters to begin with, and they always figure out a fun way to reimagine their work as time goes on after a release. Like, it's really cool that they are continually doing this.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now I can do the outro. Find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod. And we will be back next week talking about the Black Parade with a guest if nothing goes wrong.
I'm very excited.
Same.